If you enjoyed like A Court of Thorns and Roses, it should definitely be on your reading list. It's just so good. For my spring break at my university, they kind of divided up in between a bunch of random days. Most of those days I've just spent working, but this past week we had a couple of days off and I decided to take a real vacation and do a 48-hour read-a-thon. It starts Monday night and goes through Wednesday. It may or may not involve a really fun adventure, but you're gonna have to wait to see where I went. If you are new here, my name is Angela Ann. I'm the friend of all the good YA book recs and literary lifestyle tips. I would love if you would subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you like this vlog. Without further ado, let's get into the footage. I'm a mess. I probably will hopefully put in another clip to start this vlog. You can see I was watching Gilmore Girls, but now I have started A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I'm so excited to read this book. I've waited forever to read this sequel. Not really forever, but like a couple of months. I don't want to give away any spoilers. You know when a book in a series kind of ends on a giant cliffhanger and then the beginning of the next book like picks up right where it left off and you're like, so exciting. Like it's such a great moment, and that's the moment I just experienced with this book. But like I said, very tired. I will see you tomorrow, hopefully when I look better and have more energy. Good morning. It is now the next day one of the vacation, technically. A little reading update for you all. Usually I'm like a one book at a time type of gal, but right now I'm just being chaotic and I'm reading like 4 different books right now. So the one I can't take with me because it is an ebook on my computer, but it's called Launch Your Inner Entrepreneur by Charlene Walters. I'm actually interviewing her for a class assignment about entrepreneurship, which is super exciting. And so I'm reading that, but I'm not going to be taking it with me. The other books I'm reading, like I mentioned last night, are Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. So last night and / this morning a little bit, I read 185 pages of it so far. I'm loving it and I'm so excited to like dive into it more. There's over 600 pages total, but there's a really good chance I'll finish it before the end of today. I am doing kind of like a 48-hour read-a-thon for this vacation, but I also want it to like chill and not like a 48-hour read-a-thon where I'm forcing myself to try to read 4 books or 5 books or 6 books or whatever it is, like just really chill. Then the other book I'm reading right now is Never Eat Alone and Other Secrets to Success, One Relationship at a Time. It's about networking. I got it from the library. As you guys can tell, I'm also starting to get more into like nonfiction books about entrepreneurship. I am also a freelancer and entrepreneur as well as a booktuber, and it's also just another subject that I'm really passionate about. Nonfiction books are more like casual, like I'll pick up a chapter at a time and they take a lot longer to read, but I think it's because I need to like digest the information more, if that makes sense. So then the other one is Can't Take That Away by Steven Salvatore. I was sent an arc of this and it already came out March 9th and I really wanted to read it and I just didn't get around to it. So this is definitely going to be the next book I read after I finish A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire because I'm so excited to read this. I am going to be leaving kind of soon to go to the vacation. I'm not going to tell you the anticipation. We'll see where we're going. The weather last week was absolutely perfect when I was working 12 hours a day. It was like sunny and beautiful and gorgeous, and now this week it's cold and cloudy and it's supposed to rain. That's kind of just how life works. But I still think it's going to be a wonderful time, and no matter what, I have tons of books to read and so I won't be bored. Before I do that, I really wanted to kind of have a coffee shop vibe, and so I saw this like really cool cake thing. It's like a healthy cake. So I think I'm gonna make that and then make a coffee to kind of be like if I went to a coffee shop and got like a little pastry and a coffee and just sit out in my living room and read a little bit at a coffee shop. I'll put on some coffee shop music in the background. I wish I could sit in here because I feel like this would be really cool in a coffee shop, but there's not really like anywhere to sit and drink coffee. Although some coffee shops, sometimes you go in and like it's so crowded. This is obviously pre-COVID. Sometimes you would go in and it would be so crowded that you would like be like just like one little small spot. I want a spacious coffee shop for my coffee shop at home experience today. Never mind, this isn't supposed to go in the oven. So I guess I'm gonna put it in the microwave and hope that my pastry turns out okay. I read a little bit more of both Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, I think that's the name, that's bad. It's a From Blood and Ash second book. And then I also started the Never Eat Lunch Alone book, and it's so good, has so much good business advice. But now it's time to get on the road to our special destination. Here it is, it's so cute. They even wrote a little note and left a s'mores kit. This is me editing. But I realized when I was editing that I kind of like forgot to explain where I went. So my really good friend Sarah LeBrat did a video a little while ago where she went on this thing called a getaway house. It's a company that has little like getaways to unplug from society all around the country. So she went to one in her state of Texas. I went to one in my state of North Carolina. Her video really inspired this trip because it seemed just so nice and peaceful, and I really wanted to be able to have an experience where I could get away. I will link her video down below. There will also probably be a referral code if you guys want to get a little bit off your getaway house stay, but that is where I am in all this clips. So now let's get back into the actual vlog. Okay, so time for the full tour. We have the kitchen, a little entertainment center with like an old-timey radio, and then some books, but obviously I brought my own books. And then we have the bed and my book. The view, which is absolutely gorgeous. I could honestly live here with this view. And then the table, which I showed earlier. I really want to read my book, but I also kind of want to like go for a little walk, a little exploration before it gets too dark. And so I think I'm going to do that right now. For a little walk and I did some reading. I'm all cozied up. I was reading outside a little bit and I wish I could still, but there was like just a couple of raindrops here and there and I didn't really want my book to get wet. I might go back outside of my journal and like journal a little bit. I'm less attached to my journal getting wet than my books getting wet. So I'm really enjoying the second book in the From Blood and Ash series. It's so good. The one thing I will say that is just a thing that kind of perturbs me about fantasy books in general. It's just like a fantasy trope almost, or a fantasy thing. I don't know how to describe it, fantasy cliche. There's always like that one character who has two names and then like they keep being called back and forth, and fantasy novels already have too many characters and there's too many names to remember. So then some characters need to have two names because they have secret identities or other identities, blah, blah, blah. Just makes everything more confusing. But other than the one character having two names, I'm really enjoying the book so far. It's a really easy book to just fall into. Jennifer Larmentrout in general just has a really great style of writing, and it's a really easy style of writing to fall into. So I highly recommend her as an author. I've been reading her since like 2012, 2013, and I always pick up her books. So it's starting to get a little bit darker out and it's like pouring rain now, which is fine because I'm just inside, but I really wanted to make a fire and make s'mores, but we shall still do this over the stove. I checked online and it is 100% safe to be able to make s'mores over the stove, so let's hope that Google's right. Now we're going to make s'mores and get back to the book. I'm about 400 pages in and I love it so much. I really hope I can finish it today just because tomorrow I'm going adventuring in this area. When I was a kid, we used to make s'mores at my aunt and uncle's cabin, and my one cousin would put 2 pieces of chocolate and completely skip the graham crackers, and I always thought that was so cool, but my mom would never let me do it. So now, 2 pieces of chocolate. I think she took more chocolate than that, but this is my second s'more, and I just don't want to have too much chocolate. So we have 2 pieces here. Ooh, they're melting. Okay, I'm gonna eat this, and then I'll get back to you on how it is. That was really good, but it reminded me of an Easter candy. And like, I literally, I think it was a bunny with like chocolate and marshmallow inside. Let me know if you know the Easter candy I'm talking about, but that's exactly what that s'more tasted like. It was very messy to eat, and that's probably why my mom never let me have it. Now I'm going to get back into reading. I don't know if I'll update you guys again tonight or if I'll see you tomorrow morning. It is now the next day. I spent a lot of the morning reading. It's almost 10 a.m. I never stay in bed this long, but it was just really nice to have like a really calm, relaxing morning. And I read up until about page, like right after there was a huge battle, and then I stopped reading last night. So I read like the end 75 pages or so this morning of A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. It was so good. Oh my gosh. Like, that ending was just so epic, but it also left me with so many questions. So I'm so glad I read it now, because the next book comes out in April, so I won't have to wait too long. I will say I love this series a lot. I love Jennifer Larmentrot. I do think this series is for fans of Sarah J Maas. Like, if you don't really like a lot of very graphic details, I would not recommend this series. But if you enjoyed like A Court of Thorns and Roses and you haven't read From Blood and Ash yet, it should definitely be on your reading list. It's just so good. My plan is to go hike a bit, and then there's a restaurant near here that I really want to try. Okay, so I'm here at the trail now, and it is so gorgeous. Oh my gosh, guys. I went on like this scenic back road, and you always hear about how gorgeous it is out west in the US, and like it is really gorgeous, but low-key, like the Appalachian Mountains are a little bit underrated. And driving through the mountains in North Carolina is just such a beautiful experience, and I think just how underhyped it is makes it like even more beautiful. Kind of like when you read a book that you love that's super underhyped. But I just love the North Carolina mountains. Okay, so I'm back in my car now. I do love these trails back here, even though they were kind of eerily abandoned, because they remind me of, in my YA thriller novel, there's a lot of really high intensity scenes that take place in the forest, and the forest was based off of rural North Carolina, the mountains in North Carolina. So when I go on these trails, it's like I'm right there with my characters in my novel. Does anyone else ever feel that way, either with novels they write or novels like books, when there's a place that reminds you of a setting in a book you wrote or a book you read? You just kind of feel like you're there with the characters. I want to show you guys the road. So the restaurant I wanted to go to was a little bit too busy, and I wasn't that hungry, and the prices were a little bit expensive. So instead, I am now at Dunkin', because where else do I go? Okay, so now I am back at home. The trip to the getaway house was so fun and just so calm and relaxing. I really loved it, and it was actually under 24 hours, so I wish I could have spent more time there, but I highly recommend going to the getaway house. I also wanted to show you guys A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. I think it's just the type of book that this is, but it is like completely destroyed. It's well loved. It's well loved. I really need the next book in the From Blood and Ash series, but it's not coming out until April. That is my own issue that I now have to deal with. Thank you all so much for joining me on this reading vlog. Just take this as a reminder to sometimes unplug and just kind of recharge, and I think especially going out into nature with something like the getaway house can really be a great way to recharge and just kind of reconnect with yourself. If you aren't already, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and if you like this video, hit the thumbs up so that more book lovers can find this video and join our community here. As always, I will see you in the next video and down in the comments.